Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's a guy who almost never makes leg day. I'm Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rob Has a Podcast. And we have a fun podcast coming up here as we are heading into the finale of Survivor 49, if you can believe it. And so I think that we're going to have a lot to talk about here with a guy who always has a lot to say. Here he is from Survivor 48. It's Shauhin Davari. Shauhin, how are you?
I'm doing well, Rob. Thank you so much for having me back on the podcast. Excited to break down the episode that, of course, was the same episode that I went home on, the rough spot, going home right before the finale. You think you're going to be on all 13 episodes, and then all of a sudden your legs are cut out from under you.
Yeah. But listen, you are on all 13 episodes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, yeah. No doubt.
Okay, so we're going to talk about it all, and our sponsor all season long on Thursdays has been Manta Sleep. Get 10% off, mantasleep.com. Use promo code RHAP49. So, Shauhin, how have you been?
I've been super well. I've really enjoyed the post-Survivor life. I traveled all summer and decided not to teach any classes and really took the time to enjoy whatever this ride was going to be. And then I'm actually taking off, the same thing. Gonna try and enjoy next summer as well.
Wow. Okay, yeah. So this fall, are you back or you're still off this fall?
Yeah, I'm back to teaching in the fall. Just taking the summers off from here on out, really trying to enjoy that ride. And of course, gonna try and enjoy as much of season 50 as I possibly can. This season's ramping up to be just massive, and it is the looming elephant over season 49 right now. And even here, we're talking about it before we talk about season 49. I feel bad.
Well, we do have a lot to talk about for season 49 today. What have you been up to? I know you have been taking some time off. What have you been keeping busy with?
Yeah, I'm a communication coach, and that's what I've done for the last 15 years. And so now I do that on a private one-on-one basis or also small group classes. And so have been building out my company called You Louder, which is the thesis, just tell you how to be yourself a little bit louder. If you upgrade your communication, you upgrade your life. And that's been my passion for a long, long time. I've really loved watching people find their voice, heal their voice, and then learn how to really use it so that people will actually listen to them. So that's what I've been focusing a lot of my time, effort, and energy on. And then the other thing that I've been focusing on is, busting a move on a dance floor. So those are the two things that have really been important to me.
There's a lot of different things to jump off of from that. I want to go back to your company. You said you wanted to help people use their voice, heal their voice. Is that physically healing your voice, or is that like spiritually healing your voice?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Finding your voice really means figuring out what you're passionate about, figuring out what stories you should be telling when you're going into certain meetings. If you're going to go sell your company, what stories about your company should you be telling? If you're going to go sell yourself in an interview, what stories should you be telling in those interviews? And then healing your voice is really about what framework are you going to use to tell those stories? If you're finding your stories, you're finally ready to talk about something that traumatic that happened to you. Are you speaking about it from a healed place where people want to listen to you talk about it? Or are you still bitter? Are you still hurt about that? And I know one or two things about being bitter about something that I need to talk about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so figuring out how to heal people's voices also sometimes comes with, hey, you're speaking from the wrong place in your body. You need to speak from a different place. So certainly healing your voice has to do with that. And then using your voice is, how do you speak in a way that people will listen? Yeah. How do you structure your speech in a way that people are going to pay attention to you when you speak? And that tends to be, how do you practice? How do you prepare? All the little tips and tricks that a public speaker, or not even for like a big group, but even small group communication. How do you make it so that you're not the one that's dominating conversation, but participating? And your overall communication, both intrapersonally, how you communicate to yourself, is going to impact your interpersonal communication. So really a full gamut of coaching that exists with the program that I put people through.
Yeah. whole bunch of things that are interesting to me in particular.
Yeah.
I know when you did the show, though, you were a debate coach. Is this something that you were also doing then, or is this something new
Yeah.
since Survivor?
Yeah, I've been doing this with my team. That I'm a debate coach, but really it's a little tiny bit more complicated than that. I'm a speech, debate, and theater coach. I'm the director of the program, and part of what we have to do with our students is teach them how to speak in an authentic way so that they're believed by their judges. And when you speak from an authentic place, people are more likely to pay attention, they're more likely to lean in. And that is the foundation of what is a very successful program that we've created at Orange Coast College. We've won more national championships than any other school in the same time that I've been the coach. We've set a bunch of records for championships in a row. And a lot of that comes down to training people in their authentic voice to speak. And then people are more likely to listen to you, more likely to want to believe you, more likely to want to believe you in a debate, and more likely to rank you higher in a competition, or in a competition for a job, or in the boardroom, the bedroom, and the courtroom. If your communication improves,
yes,
your life
all right.
improves.
All right. Well, I would love to.
And thank you.
More.
Yeah, I love it.
Let's talk about the Survivor 49, because this was a really jam-packed final act of this episode. And I watched it again, and it's just, there's so much going on between what that you're getting set up. You don't know what is Sophi going to do with the knowledge is power, which way she's going to go. And then she goes, and she goes the wrong way. And it's like, that's it. She's cooked.
Yeah.
And then there's the other swerve. You get sideswiped with the fact, no, she's fine. And then Rizzo stands up to play the idol. It's like, oh, is he going to play the idol on her? And like, no. And then total sideswipe of Steven. So I'd love to get your perspective on that.
Well, first, I met Steven this past weekend at the Over the Edge Celebrity Weekend thing, and he's the most delightful human on planet Earth. Yeah. I see why they wanted to get rid of him, because I feel like, look, he is super compelling. I believe that the people on the jury probably would have wanted to vote for him. And you can see that in their faces when he finally gets voted out. They seem devastated that he did that. And when you watch Rizzo and the reaction that the jury has to Rizzo when Rizzo makes a joke or when Rizzo does a thing, the jury doesn't seem like they're impressed. The jury doesn't seem like they're thrilled by him. They seem kind of annoyed by him. And if Rizzo can clock that and say that in final tribal council, that was part of his gameplay, was saying things like, wow, that was cinema and whatever, in order to lower his threat profile. Meanwhile, he's really running the game. I think that's an impressive feat for Rizzo. But let's backtrack just a little bit to Savannah, or to Sophie's choice, right? That Sophie's choice here is steal Rizzo's idol that she knows he has, or steal Steven's advantage that she thinks he has. Now, the confusing part for me is, if you steal Steven's thing, Steven still goes home, right? You steal his thing and he still goes home. So I'm not sure how much that really helps you, because he's going home anyway, right? Because he got 5 votes.
Yeah, I think that for her, this was a move of, I think this was the night that the knowledge is power is going to expire. I don't have that on 100% certainty.
I'm pretty sure, it expires at 6.
So I think she wants something to put on her resume, and maybe the Sage and Christina voting with them, I think, was maybe a late development in that was going to happen. And maybe it was not even 100% bought in of like that. Yeah. She said, Sage and Christina say they're voting with us. Are they really? Yeah. But either way, I have to make my move at tribal council.
So here's the weird thing. If she ends up stealing Rizzo's idol,
yes,
she now has it. Do you think that there's any chance they then switch the vote to Sophi? I don't think there is.
So I talked about this exact scenario I do a call on Friday with the patrons, and we talked about then what would the counter move be that could potentially she use the knowledge is power, steal Rizzo's idol, and then get voted out with it? Now, that I believe that she knew the idol goes until 5. I believe that she was in on that.
There's a clip of him saying it to her, of Rizzo saying to her that it goes to 5.
Yeah. But I wonder if in that scenario where then Savannah is immune, I think that this was how we were talking about it, where Savannah was immune. And I guess so Savannah's vote is already blocked. So Savannah doesn't get a vote. Could potentially, after she takes Rizzo's idol, could Rizzo vote for her? And would anybody else potentially then follow suit? I mean, Steven had wanted to vote for her already. So yeah, I don't know if she would then, like, it never seems like her move was, I'm going to steal Rizzo's idol and then also vote him out. It seems like that her move was, I'm going to steal Rizzo's idol and play it on myself because I'm getting votes tonight.
Yeah, and that just seems like such a, it speaks to how good Rizzo and Savannah's social game is with Sophi, that in 22 days, and I've been there, I remember what it felt like to be there for 23 days. It feels like you've known these people for about 11 years. Like I think a day on Survivor feels like about 6 months of friendship. And so, because you have all this uninterrupted time, no phone, no whatever. So it feels like Savannah and Rizzo have really done a wonderful job socially with Sophi to make her not want to hurt them like that. But weirdly, if I'm being honest, I think Rizzo would have respected it. This kid loves the game.
Yeah.
And I think he would have been one of those people that was like devastated for sure. But then on the other side of it would have been like, man, I respect it. I did not see that coming from Sophi, from little old Sophi, taking my idol and then turning around to everyone and going, hey, now's our shot. Let's get Rizzo. And then she has it to play at 5 because now she's safe. The question is the small risk there, or maybe big risk there, is that they go, you have the idol, you feel safe, we're going to vote you out. But them being able to do that in that moment seems almost impossible. Like, it seems like that would be really impossible. So I think that Sophi was caught between a rock and a hard place in a way, but I think that it got tipped the other direction because of the reward. And you see it actually happening in Sophie's face. You see it happening in her demeanor. She's at the reward. Her defenses come down. Now her stomach is full. Her heart is full. She gets the letter from Nana, you know what I mean? Or the reminder from Nana, like, go play this game and live for yourself. But once you're looking into Savannah's pretty eyes and Rizzo's, crying about his family, and it's this beautiful moment, and you've shared it. I'm getting chills thinking about it right now. This beautiful moment. Do you really have the stones to then turn around and stab them in their face? Like, that's a brutal move. But I think it's $1 million losing move, unfortunately, for Sophi, because now I feel like she's guaranteed the final 3. I think Sophie's absolutely now, there's no reason to vote her out at 5. She misplayed this in front of the jury, got embarrassed. You see Steven's smile is so massive as she's going through this because he knows what she's about to do. He knows she's about to talk to him and ask him if he has something. And he knows he gets to say, nope. And you couldn't have had a happier Steven for that moment. And that's a rough spot to come back from. And I don't think that she has a lot of win equity left, unless something magical happens towards the end of this game.
Yeah. I want to talk about the reward because I'm reminded now in talking to you that you also went on a reward. Was it also the final 6? And Joe, he won the reward, correct?
Yep. I won the reward.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. And you took Joe, like my solid ally, and then also Kyle, that you're presumed also another solid ally.
Totally. Yeah.
And that was not reciprocated in terms of, like, that was you had the same plan as Savannah.
Yeah, I think the difference between Savannah and I is she won the immunity, and if she hadn't won the immunity, she goes home. I don't think there's any question that Savannah goes home there if she hadn't won immunity, right? Like even Sophi was ready to flip on her.
Yeah.
And so not winning if I would have won the immunity, yeah, sure, I make it to the final 5. But I think that is the big difference. I think winning that reward challenge is a really bad idea. I think that if you win that family reward, you just paint such a target on your back. It's so easy to go after that person who wins the letters, the loved ones letters.
Yeah.
And
did you know your reward that you won was also going to be the letters, or did they tack that on? You knew.
Yeah.
And was it also overnight? Was it a
Yep. Okay. Overnight stay, the whole 9 yards. Same exact thing here. The only difference was burgers. And you know, we had been talking about those loved ones letters, and I think maybe sometimes the fans don't understand how important those letters are to us, because it's not just about, oh, okay, cool, I get to read my loved ones letters, because you're going to get them eventually anyway. But it's about, you get to read them on national television. You get to talk about your family, and you know they're going to show those clips, and they don't show those clips of Sage. They don't show those clips of Steven and Christina. And, you know, knowing that Joe is going to get to have his kid's handwriting shown on television, that's bringing your family. That's the closest thing you're going to get to having your family out there. Knowing that I get to talk about, you know, my mom and get to show her handwriting on national television as someone who's a huge fan of the show, that's maybe as close as she's going to get to being out here. And that matters, especially to people who have made it this far, sacrificed this much. They know their families have sacrificed so much for them to be out there. And watching Rizzo talk about his dad working 3 jobs today, to this day, his dad's working 3 jobs to make sure his family can, you know, be provided for, is just, that's what the loved one letters, that's why we fight for the loved ones letters. That's why we care about that. And I think sometimes that's lost on the fans, because it's just like, but you're going to read them. It's like, yeah, I know I'm going to read them, but I'm not going to be able to talk about the people that I love the most that supported me out here, that they're going to get their voices heard too. That goes missing. That's underrated for sure.
How close do you think that Sophi came to making the move against Rizzo? Because in the evolution, the way that the episode was structured, she's not going to do it. But then when the last thing we see her at going to tribal councils, she's thinking about doing it. She's talking about Nana. And to me, it reminded me of when Jesse went and he got the letters. I think that was at the final 8.
Yes.
And his son, Gio, a.k.a. Gio, the Mr. Beast kid, he said, Dad, get that money, baby. And that was like, okay, I gotta make the move against Cody, because I gotta do this this is what my letter said this. And then I was so blindsided that she didn't do it.
Yeah. I think that the difference there is in age. That you hear Sophi say, isn't it amazing we found 3 of our best friends out here? No, you didn't. You got snowed. That when
they do seem like they hang out a lot.
I have no doubt that they're going to be great friends. No doubt about it, for sure. But that's going to end up being on the person who gets voted out by them, right? Like it ends up being on the shoulders of the person who doesn't end up winning the $1 million. It's not on the millionaires, right? Like the person who wins the $1 million is going to be like, yeah, let's be friends.
Yeah.
But it's on the other people. And so at the end of the day, whether they're your friends or not is really up to them. You get to blindside them. You all signed up to play a game. It's so much easier said than done. And there's no way, because we're watching 12 hours of footage, right? We've watched 12 hours of Survivor now. They're out there for so long. You're out there for a day. It's longer than an episode.
Yeah.
And the connections just don't come across on television. It's one of the things that's weird about Survivor is the social game, the social aspect of Survivor is the most nerfed aspect that we see. We don't see social game as much as we see strategic game and as much as we see challenge domination. And it's because it's hard you can't sit there and show us a 3-hour conversation between Rizzo and, Sophi to show how deep their bond is and all the things they're talking about. And even like, but you do see clips of it. So for example, really quick sidetrack, we are seeing constant clips of Steven and Rizzo talking. Did you notice that? these two who are essentially diametrically opposed, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, and yet they're checking in with each other all the time. There's clearly a profound relationship there. They clearly talk. They clearly like each other. They have respect. They recognize they're on opposite ends of the game, but they're having very on it. Who do you want? Oh, I want this person. Okay, but what advantage do you have? Oh, I have this advantage, or I don't. That's a pretty respectful relationship there. And if you look at the opposite, which is Christina and Savannah, they didn't have that same level of relationship, right? I don't think. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of interesting to see how good Rizzo's social game is, certainly how good Steven's social game is, in a way better and in a way worse, right? Better because I think more people do like Steven, worse because that means you're more likely to get voted out. Right. Mm-hmm. That means people are more likely to come for you.
Yeah. I do think that there is a little bit more there with the Savannah and Christina side of things. I think we see a little bit more in the show than I know Savannah had posted about how recently that they had been on the same page in terms of blindsiding Sophi, and they were sort of like, going at each other a little bit more at Tribal Council. And of course,
to make it look like
as often happens on Survivor, when people are like, hey, let's play this up, we don't see the conversation where they say, hey, let's play this up a little bit. We just see that like, oh my God, she said she mildly dislikes her. Yeah. I do feel like that Christina has been rubbed the wrong way a little bit by Savannah, but I think that Savannah more nothings Christina, because I think that she doesn't have any like ill will towards her. I actually had been rewatching a couple of the episodes ago, and Savannah's actually like one of like the biggest people cheering for Christina that when she's on has the moment in the reward challenge, and so she's like really like championing her there. So I don't think that there's any ill will from Savannah towards Christina.
I don't think there's really ill will from anybody towards anybody, but I will say, my goodness, at the end of the immunity challenge, that was hard to watch. The fact that Sage loses, everybody consoles Sage. Nobody congratulates Savannah. Savannah's standing there by herself, and it's like, it's this really awkward moment, because when you're in it that long, and this happened on my season too, right? That, these two behemoths, these gigantic men, Joe and David, are going back and forth on this challenge. And, David wins the forearm challenge, and he's busy already consoling Joe. And it comes across as a weird moment of inauthenticity, because you won. Just be happy that you won. Let Joe go through his thing. And the same thing kind of happens here. Savannah wins. She immediately tries to console Sage, because Savannah was nowhere close to losing that challenge. It seems like she could have gone for another 20, 30 minutes, and Sage was already struggling. Set a record, by the way. Sage is the second best to ever do that challenge, which is impressive. But then everybody consoles Sage. Nobody congratulates Savannah. Savannah literally Savannah goes to the bench before getting a single high five. And that's pretty rare in the Kumbaya eras of Survivor.
Yeah.
And definitely should tell Savannah where she's at. Like, that definitely tells Savannah how badly they want her out. And she seems pretty clocked in on that, recognizing like she needs to win another immunity challenge at 5. And I would be worried if I was Savannah going into this next immunity challenge if I didn't win it. I'd be very, very worried based on their reactions.
So it's been such a big talking point that everybody needs to stop Savannah because she is on this trajectory that if she gets to the end, she has a really good case. We need to stop Savannah. I would love to hear from you, from somebody who is there in the real time. You don't have the edit. You only know what's going on, because that, to myself and to a lot of people, when we're watching Survivor 48, we're looking at it and Joe looks like that he's way out in front. And we're saying like, well, if Joe gets to the end, he's going to win. And then he got to the end and he got 1 vote. And so in terms of like the perception of the
he would have got more votes, by the way. I actually would have. I was going to vote for Joe. I was worried that that Joe and Kyle were going to split more votes, and somehow Eva was going to win. And I just did not want Eva to win our season. That I knew that Star and Mary were leaning towards Eva. I didn't know where Cedric and Chrissy were going to go. And so I knew that Joe was okay, cool, he doesn't have the votes to win,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't going to have Eva win the season. In fairness, I should have, if I knew what I knew now, I would have voted for Joe, frankly.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, when we're talking about this,
Well, can I ask you that why was it a concern that Eva was going to potentially win?
For me,
Yes.
I just didn't think she played the best game. I think it was Kyle or Joe, and then Eva was in third. And I mean, after watching firemaking took like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a disqualifier for me. That firemaking, it's the one thing that you definitely can prepare for, and it takes like a couple hours. It's like not that hard to make a fire in 4 or 5 minutes. And the fact that it took that long, and that she was getting helped by Joe and Kyle the entire time, and Camilla was offered no help by anybody, that is disqualifying for me. I was never going to vote for someone who didn't prepare to play Survivor. I prepare. I knew what I was going out there. I knew what I was getting into. That's a huge
In fairness,
part of the game
you were getting ready to go out there for longer than anybody else.
Yeah, but it takes 3 days, Rob. It doesn't take a year to learn how to make fire.
Yeah.
And it was probably the most frustrating part of the experience in a lot of ways, was watching that fire making challenge last 30 minutes. It just drove me insane.
Yeah.
And so it was going to be very hard for Eva to win my vote after watching that fire making challenge, for sure. Okay. Now, for what we're talking about here, the equivalent is, we're seeing Savannah go through this game, but we're not watching it from the jury perspective. And we have a couple different things that's messing with our brain here, right? Number one, we have the elephant in the room of season 50, right? And there is something to be said for some of the people that I know that don't know about season 50. They don't know who's on season 50, are enjoying this season more than the people who know about 50. It's almost like being a super fan almost like ruins a season for you in a way, because like in the Sophi versus Savannah vote, yellow Sophi versus Savannah vote, you kind of feel like Savannah's going to survive this one. Like, Savannah's not going home yet. Yellow Sophi's not beating Savannah if Savannah was the one that was invited back for 50. Whereas, for the non-people that know what's going on in 50, they don't know, and they have that joy there. But to bring it back to Savannah and Joe's similarities, I think there are some similarities there in the way that they play the game, but I don't think there are similarities there in their jury's feeling about them.
Okay.
I don't think the jury feels about Savannah the way that our jury felt about Joe. That if you look at our jury, I think Chrissy and Joe came to, really were at war when Chrissy went home. Cedric didn't really know Joe, but then, you look at David and Joe. David and Joe definitely didn't like each other when David went home, right? David was calling Joe a liar. And you look at Mary. Mary said that she was going to vote for Joe, but I think that was just because she wanted Joe out. I don't think that Mary was intending to vote for Joe. Mm-hmm. Star and Joe, Star was kind of Joe's kryptonite, and Star and Joe didn't really get along out there at one point, and certainly at the point that Star went home. And so you have a different vibe on the jury towards Joe than Nate, Alex, MC, and how they feel about Savannah, I don't think is as negative as the jury felt about Joe going into the final tribal council.
You also said that Joe and Savannah, you feel like, are somewhat similar in some ways. Yeah, could you talk me through the similarities you see between the two of them?
I mean, first of all, they're both incredible athletes.
Yes.
Right? I think both of them have a direct style of communication that I would have loved working with Savannah out there, because she definitely will tell you to your face what's going on. And that's the vibe that Joe and I had for 23 days out there. He's my best friend, my brother out there. And to this day still is like one of my best friends, my brother. Like, I call him my brother, which is a high praise. You know what I mean? And so I think there are some similarities there. I think that sometimes Savannah, because of her history as a reporter, can come across as super clean, inauthentic almost, because
that's an interesting word you use, clean.
Yeah. Hyper, like, she doesn't stutter. She doesn't miss a beat. She has these turns of phrase.
She's precise.
She's very precise with her word. Her diction, her word choices, really amazing. And she has this style of communication
Yeah.
that can sometimes come across as pre-planned. And when people, like Steven had it too at Tribal, you know, he had that joke about, I'm like walking around in the dark with a bunch of tables and in my shit. I'm like a pair of shins walking around in the dark.
Yeah, I think he said I'm more scared than a pair of shins walking through a dark room filled with coffee tables, something like that. Yeah.
And the jury rolls their eyes, right? Alex rolls his eyes. Everybody's just kind of like, give me
that's inauthentic.
Break. Exactly, because it's a planned statement. And it didn't come across like he came up with it in the moment. It came across like, look at the joke I thought of.
Right. He's not like a big Tom, like folksy sort of like, here's like these euphemisms I use around the farm.
Right. It's like I thought about this while I was on the boat ride over to Tribal. I can't wait for Jeff to ask me.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good one.
That's interesting.
And when people do that, there's inauthenticity in your communication. And what Jeff is looking for is authentic communication. And so we see the reaction to that is internal, right? We have an internal reaction to like, oh, bro, don't do that. Like, just give me the real tea. Like, give me the real thing, what's going on. You don't need to give me the prepared line. I want to know what's actually going on. And that happens for Savannah as well. But it's not that she's being inauthentic. It's just that she's really thought about her communication style. It's something that's appreciated in the world that she operates, which is as a reporter, right? You want to have someone who's always clean, ready to throw it back to you, Tom, and all of that type of talk. But when you're out there, having that clean level of communication can actually make people feel like you're being inauthentic, even though it's just like you've worked on it, like you've thought about it, you've worked on your communication style so much, and that's a bad thing somehow. And I think the internet has a weird reaction to, especially when women in particular have clean, clear, concise, direct communication. There's an allergy to that on a young, attractive woman that we don't have on men. We don't have that same allergy all the time, especially when it's direct communication.
I do agree with that. And people love it when two men get together to talk about women's communication on a podcast. So let's keep it going. But I really do think that that there is an aversion in a lot of places where that I don't think that she necessarily is always projecting warmth. And I think that a lot of times in women, that's like, oh, what's her problem? Like, why is she mean? Because she's not being warm all the time. Yes. And I do think that is something that is
makes her a villain all of a sudden.
Yeah,
and it's not the same for men.
It's not the same. And I don't know if there's anything like that's more of a society thing than a Survivor thing, but it is something that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's. I don't know that maybe I have missed the parts where she's been mean, but I feel like I've seen her be direct, but I don't know that I've seen her be mean.
If you want to say she was ever mean when Jawan is getting under her skin a little bit,
the guy put a bunch of stuff in her bag. Like, give me a break.
Well, you were saying like, is there any time where she and even that was still like, Jawan's really getting on my last nerve today.
I would have lost my damn mind if someone if someone put a bunch of sticks and gross shit on the best piece of Survivor, like stuff, like merch that I'm ever going to get, one in a, you know what I mean? I would be livid for sure. I'd be heated. So if anything, she took it a little easy on him.
She doesn't need to heal her voice. She's good. But I do want to go back to
she does not.
The style of communication, and something you touched on earlier was that Rizzo, to us at home, and I got to ask Steven about this in the exit interview, to us at home, it's like, wow, well, Rizzo, he's got a really great case that he's played the idol. And I really think that he has been so creative in how he's played the game, and he has all these ideas, and he's trying a bunch of stuff. And I really feel like that he's a guy who has played in a million of these ORGs, and he's gotten to, this isn't his first time playing Survivor. This is his like 92nd time playing Survivor, where that he has, tried all these off the wall things in these games, and he's here and he's playing fast and loose and free, and he's having fun. But that there does seem to be a disconnect where the players who are out there are not viewing it the way that it's necessarily being presented to us
Yes,
on
exactly
television.
right. Exactly right. Yeah, there's a huge disconnect between what the audience is feeling versus what the actual jury is feeling. And that happened on our season. It happens on every season of Survivor. And now that I played, I see that in a much different light. That the audience sees what happens at camp. The jury sees what happens at tribal. They don't see what happens at camp. They don't have all this information. And I think it was mentioned on the On Fire podcast, or maybe it was on the RHAP podcast, that there is something to showing what you're doing at tribal before you get to final tribal, because you only have, 2 hours at final tribal. Can you convince them that you were doing more than they saw? Are they going to believe you? Are they going to believe this 20-year-old kid who says cinema and, all this other stuff? Are they going to believe that he was really the brains behind the operation when he's been moving in secret? Or are they just not going to believe him at the end? Are they not going to give him that agency? Because that seems to be more of the case here. I think it's going to be really hard for Rizzo to convince Nate and, Alex and MC that he was the one that was really in charge. Sophi, that he was the one that was really making all of the moves. That, okay, that seems a difficult thing for him to pull off, in the same way that like Liz from 46 was going to flip the script, right? When she gets to Final Tribal, she was going to reveal she's not actually a millionaire. A lot of the stuff that she was doing was just so that she would seem wacky and crazy. That's a bold move. And if you can pull it off, maybe you win the $1 million. But if you don't, you get a third place finish. And I think Rizzo kind of mentions that. Rizzo says, like, I'm not here to get fifth. I'm not here to get fourth. I'm here to win the game. And yeah, I think if he really understands how he was viewed in the game and really explains that and gets after the nice mug, gets after the
Thank you.
The elephant in the room. And I think that's kind of the thing in Survivor that you have to do at the final tribal council, is you really have to get after the biggest takeaways that you think the jury has of you, and you have to be accurate. So if he has that, he could win for sure. Has a huge shot at winning.
Do you think that he would reveal at the final tribal council that you all know me as Rizzo, but I have been Riz God the entire season?
Yeah, I think that would hurt him a lot if he starts talking like that.
RIZGOD, baby. I've said it 4,000 times.
Yes.
You have no idea.
Has he never said it outside of confessional?
No, only in the confessionals.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I missed that. Yeah, I think if he reveals that, he loses for sure.
Okay. So
I think
keep that under his hat. I do feel like, and it's interesting because I think he's 25 or 26, and you work with a lot of college age students, but he does present as even younger than his
23.
age.
Yeah, 22 for sure. Yeah, he's got young energy for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I feel like that this is mostly a season of people like that are in their late 20s, like early 30s. Do you think that that's part of the reason why he's not seen potentially as somebody who is, necessarily, okay, I'm not buying that he's running things?
Yeah, I do. I think that the rhetoric that he's using out there, the way he is communicating in Celebration, the way he's communicating in Devastation, all of it is, it's all wrapped up in Gen Z terminology that people that are slightly older than that don't take seriously. And if that's part of his plan, it's genius. It's so brilliant. And I think it is. Like, I think that he is playing into it because he knows that it helps keep his name off the chopping block. And for what it's worth, I think he's stretched this idol out in such a brilliant way. What an amazing way to make an idol make you immune for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that he needed to do it earlier because I don't think anybody thought he was a threat and they knew where the idol was. And so why vote him out? Because we don't want the idol to go back into play. But now at the move that he made at 6, convincing them that it expired at 6 is a massive,
Yeah.
incredible coup.
He's been so inventive, and I think that we're going to look back and say, like, he changed the way people play the Hidden Immunity Idol. But
Agreed.
isn't it inexcusable
Yes.
that people bought this lie that the
Yes.
idol expires at 6?
Yes, it's unbelievable to believe that, especially since didn't Christina have the same type of idol?
She found it post-merge, and I think his story was, because this merge was from
Pre-merge.
pre-merge, I can't, I can't use the idol.
I think that if I'm out there, there's no way I buy that lie because I've watched enough seasons. I would assume that Steven and all of these other people have watched enough seasons to know. And that's the time you make the move. That's the time you say, hey, he's lying. You don't tell him. You don't ask to see it, but you go, listen, he's lying. And we should vote him out because he's clearly not going to play it. He is trying to play some sort of double move where he's going to keep it till 5. We vote him out right now, and he goes home with an idol in his pocket. RIZGOD. We prove that he's not a god, although I guess they haven't heard him say that. We prove that he's not a god. He's a mere mortal because his game is now over and he is dead.
I just don't. How many times does he have to bluff with it before we say, you know what? Let's just put the votes on him. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. What are the chances he's going to do it tonight? He's going to play the idol.
But I think that the problem with that is if he does play it, it might be you. So if his bluff is true and he plays it and the votes land on you, you're the one going home. So are you willing to risk your game?
You got to risk it to get the biscuit.
I agree, and he has, and he's
God, and also Wes Nail.
Yeah, Wes Nail. And now Riz God said that, right?
Yeah, they both said it.
Okay. I think that's where their similarities stop.
Is there any other similarity between? Well, they both ate a lot of tacos.
It's true.
They both had to suffer from taco overload.
Yes.
They both sometimes are talking and you don't know what they're saying.
Fair enough.
They're both good boys. They both haven't been to jail
yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. They both have cool dads.
They both have very cool dads. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, I was all kinds of crying during that little portion, just because, my parents, emigrated here. My mom worked, 12-hour days standing behind a chair. My dad was hustling, delivering pizzas, was a flight instructor under the Shah of Iran. And then all of a sudden he's delivering pizzas for 25-cent tips. And I know what that's like to watch your parents struggle and for you to then be able to play. And Rizzo has a playful vibe about him because of his parents' sacrifice. His parents sacrificed everything so he could not be traumatized, so that he could go and play and have fun and be full of life. And that kid is full of life, man. Yeah. It's so fun to watch. And same thing with Sophi. Sophi has this beautiful story about her grandparents. It's one of the coolest parts, I think, about what Survivor is bringing to the island now. And I know that people have problems with casting and whatever, but it's really hard for me to have any problems with that when you see these amazing stories told by these incredible young people. It's pretty cool to see, especially in a time and place that we're at right now, especially with how we think of immigrants on a global scale right now. To hear these stories, it humanizes in such a beautiful way. I'm really proud of those two for how they talked about their family. It was really beautiful to see.
Yeah, that was a really great story. And I had known some of the Rizzo backstory from his interview from the preseason, but I thought that they really artfully did it on the show. Really I also think it's really amazing that, he has these parents who came to America. And then in addition to that, he has a brother who's special needs, who then that the parents need to be out of the house for so much. And so he's really been a caretaker to his brother. And he has this incredibly close relationship with his brother, who I saw on Twitter was psyched to get mentioned on the show. So I thought that was really good.
And this is what I talk about with the loved ones letters.
Yeah.
Your brother's going to be so pumped.
Yeah. And it's, but I think that to speak to what you mentioned about with the casting and the backstories and everything, I think that when it comes up organically, and I think that the letters is a good way to do it. And I really even thought in season 48, when there was the scene with you and Joe and Kyle and Camilla, and everyone was talking about sort of we have sort of a shared story where, we're all from different places, but our parents gave up a lot. And it was, it was
real quick, the story of Joe, hearing that on the island was one of the most devastatingly incredible things that I've ever really seen as far as a storyteller is concerned. And shout out to Joe. 48 Hours is doing a special on Joe and his sister and the relationship there and what happened to him.
Oh,
and
wow.
I would encourage absolutely everybody to go watch the trailer for that and to watch that. This man is incredible. He is the real deal. He really is I'm so lucky that I got to share a beach with him for 23 days and now a lifetime of friendship with this dude. I'm so proud of him for taking this moment and making it into a huge thing. The awareness that he brings to domestic violence. And that's the same thing that's happening here with Rizzo and with Sophi. They're bringing awareness to, and Survivor, right? The editors bringing awareness to the immigrant story and how beautiful it is when people come here and sacrifice everything so that their kids can run around and play and enjoy life here. And when we see that, I think it humanizes the experience. And when we see Joe out there talking about one of the most devastating things that can happen to a person, that especially as a brother, I have an older brother. I know what that sibling relationship is like. And to lose a sibling, there's just nothing like that to feel like he felt. And the way he's using it now to make sure that no one else has to feel that way. I mean, how can you have upset about the way that casting goes unless you just have a giant hole in your soul that you need to figure out with some meditation and journaling? It's in therapy.
Yeah. I was, and listen, I've had some, so I'll take some exception to that. That I feel like that, I think it's everybody's heart is in the right place. I think that everybody they want to tell stories. But I think that sometimes that they want to tell the stories so more so than like
what happened in the game.
I think that like the A story of Survivor should be like, okay, we have these 18 people from all walks of life who are coming together, and by their interactions with each other, we all learn about each other because of like, and I thought that scene that you had in Survivor 48 was really great, where everybody, four people, I would say, 4 people and 3 from different walks of life, where Kyle and Camilla from similar walks of life.
Yeah, no kidding. The Guyanese connection, how crazy.
They had a connection.
Yeah.
But you learned about each other, and we got to learn about all of you because of that. I think it's some of the stuff that is a little bit more like
forced.
Seems a little forced, or like that pulled out of people, in confessional. Like I think that's the stuff where it's a little bit, we get too much of that. But I don't want to say it's the people.
It feels heavy-handed in weirdly in the same way that I was talking about, sometimes someone who's super clean in their communication, it annoys, it makes it feel inauthentic. And so when it feels like it's coming from an inauthentic place, it's just like randomly like, oh, and by the way, here's this story that has nothing to do with the game, nothing to do with the plot line. I can understand that for sure. I think that some people think that you have to have a sob story to get on Survivor. I've heard this a lot. They're wrong. You don't have to have a sob story. You need to have a story that's worth telling. That can be a success story. It can be a sob story. It can be a trauma. It can be anything. But if you're looking to get on reality television and you're not a storyteller and you don't have a story worth telling, and you're not like an awesome personality, obviously they're not going to put you on television. Like, what are you complaining about? You don't want those people on television. You want people with good stories that are willing to tell them and they know how to tell them.
So in this season, we've had this I think this is a very interesting pair of Savannah and Rizzo together, because I feel like they're so different, but they have just like this blind loyalty. We don't even really hear a lot from them about their relationship with each other. It's just it's just unquestionable. He's not voting for her. She's not voting for him. It's just that they're bonded, and we don't even really know what the relationship is about. Now, we've never seen them like have like a moment together or anything like that. It's like, I'm working with Rizzo. I'm working with Savannah. It seems like it's a very like professional business relationship between the two of them, but it seems unbreakable. As opposed to Kyle and Camilla, who then had like very early on had this connection that seemed to go like beyond the game between heritage and then a lot of shared interests and then just like on a personality level.
Yeah.
But it was they tried to hide it as much as possible. Whereas Savannah and Rizzo have been sort of the antithesis of that. They seem to have no actual connection that we've ever seen on the show, but they're very public in their duo nature.
Yeah, really interesting that we haven't seen why they've connected so much, other than that they were on the same starting tribe.
They're on the same tribe. Like that's my guy. That's Rizzo. That's my gal. That's Savannah.
And Savannah keeps talking about how Rizzo's put his game on the line for her so many times. Did I miss it so many times? I think that it's very
there were times where people were going to vote for her, and I don't know. Maybe he said he was going to play the idol on her, or maybe that she felt like that some of his idol shenanigans have prevented like them from being able to get her out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and also there's just so much that's left on the editing room floor. Like there's just so many moments that you don't know how close you were, but man, an ally stepped up and had a conversation and got you out of trouble. So it's very possible that some of that stuff is stuff that we just don't see. But it is interesting that we don't get to really see what's relationally holding them together. What's the foundation of their relationship? But they clearly have a super solid one. They definitely talk. I mean, oh gosh, their relationship with Sophi is just so interesting because Sophi knows she's at the bottom of that threesome, and yet.
But it's a final three. Who cares?
Her defenses Sophie's defenses come down. She's had this secret the entire time. And then because she now has her.
Did they have margaritas?
Yeah, they have margaritas. Did Sophi have a margarita? I don't know if she did or not. But the defenses come down and finally Sophi wilts and just tells them, I have KIP. I have knowledge is power. The whole entire RHAP San Diego watch party that I went to last night was devastated that Sophi revealed she had the knowledge is power. I think the fandom in general wanted her to keep that secret because it's so fun for her to have just played it. But she wanted to tell her allies about it. And what's interesting is weirdly, knowing that Steven kept the secret about what his advantage was, basically all the way till, he told Sage and Christina. Had Sage and Christina not kept that secret and gone and told Sophi then probably steals Rizzo's idol, right?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of scenarios where this ends up going differently, where, I mean, that Steven could have played the advantage at the final 7, and now all of a sudden we have a situation where there's only one thing in the game for her to steal. Steven could have, and I mentioned this to Steven today on the exit interview, if he would have not completed the mission, and he would have come back with no advantage, then what else would she have done? But it seems like that they intentionally like the idea of it being a block a vote because of the interesting wrinkle of that the block a vote gets played before the tribal council.
Right.
So I think that the show was kind of rooting for a scenario where somebody has knowledge is power, and because of the nature of the block a vote, how it gets played, that they would have said, nope, I already used the advantage.
I mean, is there like that Cheshire grin from Steven as Sophi is doing her big soliloquy, her big monologue, her big moment, and he gets to sit behind her, and we get to see the shot of her excited to screw him,
silent assassin,
and the shot of him just being like,
nope,
sorry, you just lost $1 million, like, and that's the $1 million moment, and Sophi knows it. So I think Sophi knows it, that she like, okay, cool, now she has a very, very difficult path to winning $1 million. Because remember, the jury just sees what happens at tribal. They don't know all of the behind the scenes.
Don't you think it's interesting that knowledge is power has been it's never worked? The person who has used it has fallen on their face 4 times.
Yeah, I know it. It's
Actually,
crazy.
no, I should say that, I mean, James Jones got voted out with it, but that it was part of the reason why he went home.
I mean, I do think it's still a great game mechanic, even though it hasn't been used successfully, because it comes up all the time. Like, it's talked about out there constantly. We absolutely talked about it out there. And
in
it's
what
one
way?
of
Like, can you tell me what
just like, do you think it's in the game? Do you think when so-and-so went on the journey that they had
got it?
Yeah, Eva could have got it. And it's like, okay, well, in our season, it didn't really matter because if Eva had it, she's going to steal the advantage from herself. Fine. That was devastating, by the way, when Eva pulled that rock. Like, come on, anybody but Eva or Mary. We just didn't want Eva or Mary. I just didn't want Eva or Mary to get it. But yeah, I think it's an interesting mechanic, and it's one of those things.
Could you go back to with pulling the rock? I remember she like left camp, and you had seen that she went to go get up in the middle of the night with.
It was the same time that Steven went on his journey.
Yes.
That same time, we had the same thing happen, and Mary was on the bottom, and Mary was like, "I'll go on the journey," and everyone was like, "Nah, we're gonna draw." Wow, sorry about that.
You're good.
We're gonna draw rocks instead. Well, Eva drew the rock, and Eva went on the journey.
Yeah,
remember, and she had to build the thing and.
Yeah, I think that I'm getting that like conflated with the time that she left camp in the middle of the night to go and play, and she played the game, right? It was not that she did the challenge. So do you think that because of that, they made that adjustment of like, how do we make it so the person who is on the bottom, who needs it the most, and they called it who wants to go on a strenuous journey?
Yeah. Crazy that
is Eva going on a strenuous journey?
I am shocked that Savannah didn't raise her hand for that. I'm shocked that Rizzo didn't raise his hand for that. That was confusing to me, that it just got to be between Sage and Steven, and Sage just being like, go for it, man. That strenuous word really changed the game.
Did a lot of work.
Did a lot of work. And yeah, definitely a little bit more than surprised. Like, I guess I could understand if you're really not an athlete, like if you're really not in shape, but there were plenty of people that are in shape enough for a strenuous journey to know that they're going to be able to do it. And especially if Steven's on the bottom and he's the one who wants to go.
Yeah.
That seems like a wild take. Steven played, I think a great game. He had a great social game. He definitely was a threat out there. They definitely did not want to sit next to him at Final Tribal Council, especially when you consider what the jury is thinking of them. So yeah, definitely surprised they let him kind of go on that by himself. Very, very, very surprised.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that this episode started with karma, like the idea, or had it karma as like the idea for Sage. Like, this is karma. I didn't get Savannah out, and now this is karma. I could have gotten Savannah out, and if Savannah was out, one of the rest of us would have won this thing. I wonder if that is foreshadowing. I wonder if that continues to be the case.
How do you mean?
Survivor loves a foreshadow.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they did in this episode where Steven opens the episode and it's like, hey, last night it was 6-1 against Sophi. I don't think we're going to have another unanimous vote.
Exactly. And that's my point. Like, the foreshadowing here is, okay, cool. Was that their last opportunity to get Savannah out? Is Savannah going to win immunity at 5?
Well, if she wins at 5 and at 4, then she breaks the record. But it's a very weak field, with all due respect to the other players that are there. Sage gave her a run for her money last night, but the other people have not been, with all due respect to Christina and to Rizzo.
No, they weren't involved.
Yeah.
They weren't close.
They haven't been close. The other people, it's that all of the immunity challenges, I believe, have been won by Savannah, Yellow, Sophi, or Steven.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else has worn the necklace. And now Steven's gone and Sophie's gone.
I'm very upset, right? Because
yes, let's talk about this.
We finally have 2 fucking leg challenges. 2 of them.
Was it only 2? They had one last night. Was a leg challenge. That you feel like that's in your wheelhouse?
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, am I beating Savannah at that? I don't know. She seems pretty bendy. Like, maybe that was a difficult challenge for the hip flexors. But the first one where they're doing the like lower ab challenge and leg challenge,
Yeah.
I'm dominating Steven in that challenge. Okay. I'm making Steven look like child's play. Love you, Steven, very much. But I believe in my leg and lower ab power.
What about holding into the box where
That's
you
a
put your
foot
feet on the
challenge.
side? That's a foot challenge. That's not a leg challenge.
I know. I'm into that one too.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Rob, I actually put rocks in my shoes when I would go on hikes and stuff, like before when I was prepping, that I could make my foot torture like I would ignore it. I would try to not think about it.
How about Survivor 46, where you were the alternate? Did they have a lot of leg challenges?
On 46, they had this one, which I would have lost immediately. I tried to do something like this in the gym, and there's no way I'm beating Hunter, or who won that? Was it Hunter? I can't remember. They have a lot of leg challenges. Not really. I don't think they did.
What's the ultimate leg challenge on Survivor?
You know what? The one that they haven't done in a long time, which I would have loved to do, but I don't know that they'll ever do it again. Yes.
Okay.
The squat challenge.
I don't know the last time that they did it. I know I had interviewed Dawn Meehan the last time she was on the podcast, and she was saying that she had like vertebrae that got fused from doing that. I think they'll still do it on Australian Survivor. They don't care.
But not here.
But I think that like I think they tried to like walk back some of the most dangerous challenges.
What about this one? The like hold the bag. You know what I'm talking about? Where people are throwing coconuts in there and you hold the.
Well, they kind of did that in this season.
Yeah,
it was on the journey, but it was,
which I loved, by the way.
Actually, no, it wasn't even. You didn't have to hold it. It was just. It was just like eventually, like shoot the coconuts, and eventually your bag was going to fall down.
Yeah. Interesting.
So we mentioned Survivor 46. You were the alternate. This was a big alternate season.
Yeah, no kidding. I got to hang out with MC and Jason last night, also at the RHAP San Diego.
Yes. How are they doing?
They're doing great. Yeah, they were.
Is there an alternate group chat?
There should be. I'm starting the alternate group chat, actually. I'll do that after this episode, after this little thing here. It was interesting to get to catch up with them and what it feels like to hit the beach when 12 hours earlier you thought your game was over, especially at that point. I remember being at that point, and after all of the cast photos are taken, okay, it's game over. Like you're as an alternate, you're done. Like you know that you're not playing because they've taken the photos, right? To then all of a sudden be thrust into the game. Woo, that's a wild wake-up call.
How do you think you would have handled that if, all of a sudden there's, Q is talking too much at Ponderosa. He's out. Okay, you're in. Jelinski's breaking all the rules.
Yeah, it would have been bad for my game, for sure. That would not have been good for me. I think 9 of them talked about me, and 5 of them talked about me negatively. 4 of them talked about me positively.
But you can win them over once you get out there.
I actually agree with you there. I think the pregame talk is all kind of nonsense, and the first 5 minutes that you're out there changes kind of everything that you would think about pregame anyway.
Maybe the first vote could be a little bit dictated by,
I agree.
Who do you want to work with? But after that, I think it's like...
It doesn't matter. I agree with you. I think the first vote is maybe, but it's also 3 days in, and those 3 days you bond a lot. You can get over a lot there in those 3 days. So I don't think pregame matters that much. And there's something to be said about taking people on a ride emotionally. Like there's something to be said about someone not having an opinion of you to liking you. That's a very short jump. But someone having a negative opinion of you to then liking you, that's a big emotional swing. And when you do that swing, I feel like you're less likely to go back the other way. It's like one of those things where if you want someone to feel amazing, you tell them like, hey, we got to talk later. And instead of just like telling them, hey, I really like you, you go, hey, we got to talk later. And then you wait 15 minutes. And for that 15 minutes, they're wondering, is this bad? Like, what's going on? Why? And then you tell them, hey, I really needed to tell you that I think you're fantastic. You're so special. Oh, the emotional ride there from what you think is going to be bad to great is just such a bigger jump. And I think the pregame can kind of be used in that way. And speaking of pregame, the people that got thrown out, right? I feel like they don't understand movie theater talk, right? I think
what is movie theater talk?
Yeah. So when you go to a movie theater and you watch a movie and you want to talk to your friend, you can say a word. You can say one word to your friend. No one's going to be that mad about one word. because you're not really doing anything significant with a word. You can even give them a look. You shouldn't. You should be focused. It's rude, maybe. You could maybe get one sentence one time. And this is what pregame is like. Maybe you get a sentence and someone will be like, hey, stop that. But if you start trading fucking paragraphs, I'm going to get the manager and I'm getting you thrown out of the fucking movie theater. You're being rude. You're being a dick. Stop.
Hey, we're trying to Ponderosa.
Right. It's like, okay,
You're
you
ruining
get
it.
one word, but 5 words. Now I'm going to be mad. A whole paragraphs, a warning. I tell you, hey, stop it, knock it off. And then you keep going. Nah, get out. Bye. You're never playing Survivor. See you later. You didn't respect the movie theater. You're not allowed at this movie theater anymore. I think that's kind of what happened there. That seems to be what happened there. And worse. It seems talking to Jason and MC last night, it seems like they were doing the most.
Okay.
Yeah. Wild behavior.
So one of the alternates also is Sage. And Sage, I thought, had been on such an interesting ride this season where she really was playing with her heart, but now she has been making some moves which I think are polarizing in terms of like what she's doing. Steven made a pretty strong case for, but basically her win condition is getting to the end of the game with Blue Sophi and Christina. And so she's doing exactly what it takes to do that, to end up in that final 3 with the 2 people she thinks that she can beat. So who cares what order the other players go out? So
Exactly right.
I'd love to get your thought on Sage.
I think you nailed it. She knows her win condition is Christina and Sophi and Blue Sophi. So it doesn't really matter if it's Steven and then Rizzo and then Savannah or, whatever order that goes in. I think that maybe the problem is what Christina actually clocked earlier in the episode when they were back from reward. And Christina clocked it like perfect. And she said, Sophi was about to flip on Savannah. And now that Sophie's taken on reward, Christina's worried that Sophi will then tighten to Savannah and Rizzo. And she was right. Sophi absolutely got pulled in, tightened to Savannah and Rizzo, and then didn't want to flip on them and vote for Rizzo. And that, I wonder if that continues to last into day 24 and 25. But I wonder if Sophi continues to be tight with them, or does Sophi wake up, smell the coffee, realize I got to get Rizzo and Savannah out if I'm going to have any shot at this? Because I think Sophie's win condition is also against Sage and Christina.
I love getting your reads on the communication styles of the players. Could you talk any more about the way that Sage has communicated this season?
Talk about authentic communicator, right? She can't help but be her authentic self. Even when she's mad at you, it doesn't matter. She's just going to show it on her face. And I think there's a reliability there that has kept her in this game, right? That you can see it on Sage's face. Amazingly, Shannon did not see it, right? Shannon didn't see it on Sage's face, couldn't read Sage at all because Sage was really playing it up and hamming it up for Shannon. I have less analysis on that I want to really talk about and more on what Sage has done since then. But really impressive when Sage goes to, Yellow Sophi is sitting on the beach with Sage after she blindsides Sage and sends home Jawan, right? And we see this moment between Yellow Sophi and Sage where Sage is very upset. It's clear that Sage is upset. And Yellow Sophi is telling her, I'm sorry. But in the tone of Yellow Sophi saying she's sorry, she is upset with Sage for being upset, right? She's mad at Sage. You can feel it. Her frustration is, why are you frustrated with me when I did something that you're supposed to do in Survivor? And Sage's reaction is like, I hate you right now. Like you just voted out someone that I really care about and I wanted to play this game with. Like, what do you mean? Why shouldn't? And so the apology requires accountability, and the apology came without the willingness to allow Sage to be mad at her. And Sage needed that moment to be just mad. Time can heal the wound, right? You need to have the time for the person to be mad, work through the emotion, and then maybe later the next day, you could come to Sage and have a rational discussion. But Sophi missed it. And that's what happens when you're on Survivor for that long. It's also pitch black. So Sophi can't see Sage's facial reactions.
Oh, that's
that
such an interesting point. I never even think about that.
We can see the facial expressions. Sophi can't. It's pitch black. And all she's hearing is the vocal tone. And Sage has an interesting vocal tone. Sage's vocal tone is pretty flat affect, right? Even when she's mad, she's not like really over the top. She has this like kind of flatness. So we hear Sophi's frustration and we see on Sage's face, this is not working. You're not, I don't buy your apology. And in fact, you're kind of pissing me off right now. And that ends up ultimately leading to Sophi's demise. At least in some way, it adds to Sophi's demise for sure. But Sage gets mad. Sage's response is, I am revenge oriented. And that might cost her the game if Savannah continues to dominate. That might be the karma for Sage. And so a really huge scene that I don't feel like I saw talked about a lot was that apology scene between Yellow Sophi and Sage.
When I interviewed Yellow Sophi about all of that, we were talking about the decisions that she had made. And so at the previous vote, when she votes out Jawan, she had been like, this was some really good Survivor play where I believe it was Savannah and Blue Sophi said, okay, who do you want to vote out? Jawan or Sage? You pick. Okay. You're the swing vote. You pick. And Yellow Sophi said, vote out Jawan because I have a relationship with Sage. And she kept Sage in the game because that was her ally. I'm closer with her. She felt like, okay, I'm going to be able to have my ally going forward, get rid of Jawan. Whereas if she would have voted out Sage, Jawan is much less likely to have wanted to get payback against her.
Right. Yeah. Very true.
Isn't that interesting?
Wow. Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah. I mean, all of these different considerations, it depends, especially for Yellow Sophi there, it depends on how good do I think I am at apologizing to somebody and having them believe me. Like I think back to Adam Klein when he goes to Taylor on the beach and we see this beautiful scene of him being like, I fucked you. And he says it just like that. And I really screwed you over. And there's no two ways about it. And I think that level of accountability is what Taylor needed in that moment. Yeah. And probably what Sage needed in that moment. Because Sage is sitting there like, my game is cooked. I'm screwed. And Sophie's like, no, it's not. Not the move. That's not in Sage's heart. In Sage's heart, her game is cooked. You need to say, yeah, your game might be cooked, but there's a lot of game left. You need to agree with the flow that they're in, and then you can repair it later. Yeah, your game might be cooked, but there's a lot of game left, Sage, and we can still work this. We can figure this out. We can get ourselves to the end of this game, but everybody was going to give credit to Jawan. That's what was happening. Jawan was the biggest threat to your game because you loved him and someone needed to do this dirty work for you. And now he's on the jury and he's a surefire vote for you. He's going to vote for you. If you're at the end, that's a guaranteed slam dunk vote for you, Sage. So in a way, like I've kind of helped your game. You know what I mean? Like someone had to cut him because he was going to get all the credit. And now he's a vote for you.
Yeah.
I think that would
Sophi also seems, Sage seems a little hung up on who can I beat? And I feel like that, now you just made a move that I wanted to go to the end with you. And now I don't know if I can beat you. And so this is like another reason why you have to go. She seems like very, very hung up on that. Let me also
mention, she should be.
Yeah. You brought up about Adam and Jay. And I saw you recently said on social media that the first season any new Survivor fan should watch needs to be Millennials versus Gen X.
Yeah, totally.
I love that they can see like, hey, this is where Survivor is forever now. This is the first one.
I actually think the reason I like that season for people who have never seen the show is because it's fun. It's got a lot of like fun little dramatic moments. It's got great people to root for. I think Adam's a fun person to root for, especially with the relationship that he has with his mom and everything that happens at the reunion episode too, like how crazy that story is. And I think it makes people fall in love with the show, and then they're hooked. Like, my concern is getting people hooked on the show. I think that a lot of people want people to watch Pearl Islands, seem to be a huge one in the comments. I don't think that's the best place to start. I think it's kind of nice to go appreciate the game and then go back and watch the historic seasons, because I think that it's harder for them to hold up with a modern
standard def.
Yeah, exactly. Standard def, a lot of missing mechanics. I think that the casting is great still then, but like, it's just a little different. Like, it doesn't necessarily, I think, hold up in the same way that I think Millennials versus Gen X can get you hooked on Survivor. And look, a little bit of it is rage bait. I wanted people to be upset. I like to piss people off.
You like the engagement.
Yeah, why not? Of course. Yeah. And I think there are other seasons that you could watch. I think Kagayan is something that a lot of people say you should watch first. I loved Kagayan. I'm glad that I got to see a couple seasons before I saw what, Tony did and why it was so special, and have an appreciation for it. The first season I watched of Survivor was 19. And that was the perfect season for me to watch, because nothing's going to motivate me to want to go play like watching someone that I loathe, that I hate. That is such a good motivator. And watching him get his comeuppance, right? That like, he is this awful person that everybody wants to go home for a long, long time. And then he does do some of the most amazing things that have ever happened in the game of Survivor. But at the end of the day, you got to remember what the game is. The game is convincing the jury. And Eric does this amazing monologue at the end of season 19. Just so incredible a monologue that it won, I think, Natalie the game. That I really do think that absolutely convinced a jury member to switch their vote.
That makes so much sense that you're an Eric Cardona guy, because I feel like that you and Eric have like a similar vibe, where that, he is very like passionate and serious, and like spoke with, again, talk about a guy who did not need to heal his voice. No. That he came to that final tribal council and he gives like the closing speech. Totally. And I think we called it the Eric Cardona until we called it the David Murphy on the podcast, of the person who comes in. And I don't know if anybody else had ever done that before in Survivor history, where a juror makes the case better than the person who's sitting in the final three.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you're sitting out there for 39 days, and you're completely depleted. And now you have to argue for your game, and you're sitting next to Russell, and, you're a little smaller, and to watch Eric stand up to a bully like that and say everything that kind of needed to be said for Natalie to win the game. Really impressive. What a fun, way to wait for me to start. I leaned over to my best friend about 20 minutes into like the second episode. I've never watched Survivor. I watched the finale, season 1, but I kind of forgotten about it, and was very much so of the opinion. It was February of 2020. So the Panini was just really starting to kick off, and we decided to stay in. Friends like, let's watch Survivor. I didn't even know Survivor was still on television at the time. And after 2 episodes, leaned over to my best friend and was like, I'm going on this show. Like, I am absolutely going to go play this game. And, to my best friend's credit, he was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, sure. My buddy Aaron Baru was like, yeah, absolutely. You're going to go do that. Sure. But yeah, I think 33 is a good place to start. 19 is a good place to start if you're motivated by hatred.
Yeah. Well, speaking of this rewatch, I know it's also part of your story that you and your mom, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, that you were not on great terms, but your mom watching Survivor was something that really changed your relationship.
Yeah. I mean, we were on great terms, good terms, but we had lacked something that really connected us, that we could talk about all the time. And Survivor came up during the pandemic for me, and I fell in love with the show, watched it all, but I couldn't get my mom to watch it. She was busy watching Turkish dramas instead of watching Survivor, which apparently she should watch Turkish Survivor. I've heard it's amazing. But it was a really rough day that we had together, and we were playing this Persian game called Yaram Toro Faramush, which means I remember and you didn't. And the way the game works is You place a bet when the game starts. You place a bet and the game starts. And once the game begins, every time you hand each other something, when I'm handing you something, Rob, you would have to say, I remember that the game is being played, but just I remember before you take it. When you hand me something, I would have to say, I remember. Now, if I hand you something and you don't say, I remember, I say, I remember and you didn't, I win the game. Okay? So pretty simple game of memory. Well, my mom bet a trip around the world, that I would have to pay for her trip around the world. And I bet that she would have to watch every single episode of Survivor.
Yeah.
And we walk into a Starbucks and my mom orders a water and she kind of turns around and isn't paying attention. And the Starbucks barista kind of puts a water out. I grab the water. I just shuffle it 6 inches over to my mom who's not looking. She grabs the water. I say, Yaram Toro Faramush. I remember and you didn't. And my mom has this combination on her face of pride and rage at the same time because she's so proud of me for winning and in a devastating fashion so quickly, but she's also so mad that she lost because she's so incredibly competitive. She throws the water on the ground in the Starbucks, water fucking splashes everywhere, and I am dancing and celebrating in her face because that's what she does when she wins, okay? She dances and celebrates in your face and will point at you and go, ha, 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 ha. And the rest is history. She fell in love with Survivor. And after she watched every season, I, planned a Survivor vacation for me and a bunch of immigrant uncles and aunts and made them play Survivor. And they had a blast. And when my mom won, I promised her I would go on the show and promised her that she would meet Jeff Probst and kept both those promises.
Yeah. Yeah. And even I met your mom when
Yes,
we were at the
you
48 premiere.
She was thrilled, by the way, to meet you and does not know that I'm doing this podcast, and I will send it to her, and it'll be a nice little surprise.
Hi, Mom.
And that's honestly one of the craziest parts. Like I lost my father Thanksgiving of 2021. My mom's had 4 different back surgeries and essentially was immobile, which is why Survivor was so nice. And now she's a lot better. But Survivor, especially my process in it, has been this constant source of endorphins for my family. I lost my aunt in October of last year. And, she was my, you want to talk about number one fan. My aunt, every time I saw her was like my number one fan. She's the type of aunt that would slap her face when she would get excited. She was so excited to see you. She just was this vibrant personality in our family. And we lost her right before my season aired. And she would have been my number one fan. And, when I was in the hospital with her, I got to tell her everything that happened. I told her everything. I violated my NDA, because she wasn't telling anybody. She was unable to speak, but she heard it and she got to hear everything that happened. And I told her the whole story. And I may have lied to her a little bit about the finish because why not?
So you told your aunt that you won?
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Give her a
never
smile.
heard a story like that before.
Yeah. And I got to spend the nights with her. I was doing the overnight shifts with my aunt Parveen. And you have these devastating things that happen in your life. And through all of that, my cousin who lost her mom got to watch her favorite person on national television just a couple months later. And dealing with grief is really tough. It's not an easy thing to deal with, but it certainly is a little bit better when you get to have these beautiful moments in between grief and these shots of endorphins throughout this whole crazy couple years of my life. And so I'm very, very fortunate that Survivor gave me these crazy, amazing moments. And even to this day, man, it's I walk around and people are like, oh my God. And they get that caught upness in their excitement when they see me and they don't even know what to say. And I'm a college professor. I train people in finding their voice. I was, nobody would do that for me, 2-3 years ago. And now people get so excited. I make their day. And it's such a cool thing that you get to do. It makes your day to make somebody's day. And all I have to do is pick up their phone and ask who their loved one is and say, oh, waka, siano maka, their loved one. And they're thrilled. And it's such a cool thing. And that shit will be stuck with me forever. That's for sure. And it's been really, really special for sure.
You were telling the story about your mom, and I was wondering, was English your first language?
Mm. It's funny. There's video of me speaking fluent Farsi, like Farsi better than I can speak even today when I was like 5 and 6 years old. I think that English and Farsi I was learning at the same time. So
Yeah.
they were both my first languages. And then, the assimilation got to me because at that point in the United States, it was assimilation was the way. And being in a potentially insular culture was not the view of how to be successful in this country. The view in Persian culture was assimilate as quickly as possible so that you can go really kick ass and be super successful in the country. And so definitely lost some of my ability to speak Farsi and some of the Persian culture stuff. And that's actually one of the really interesting things about this journey for me is I used to go by a nickname, and I don't go by that nickname anymore. And I stopped that about a year before I was going on Survivor.
Was it Shah God?
Yeah, Shah God. It was Shah, actually. And it was easier for people, right? Shauhin, 2 syllables, can be difficult for people. And so instead I just went by Shah. And it wasn't as a reference to the Shah of Iran. It was because my dad used to yell at me from the kitchen, Shah, finish your food. And when 12-year-old, vanilla kids would come over to my house and then they would see me in the lunchroom on Monday, they wouldn't know how to do the, so it just became Shah, finish your food. And I went by that for a very long time. But for Survivor, I didn't tell them about my nickname at all. I was just Shauhin. I wanted Shauhin to be the name said on national television. That was important to me for us to hear a Persian name said by Jeff Probst and his dimples on national television, to be the first Persian man to play. Like, that was very, very important to me. And in that transition, when I got out there, before, people could call me both, and I was trying to help them call me Shauhin. But once I got back, 30 something days of only being called Shauhin, I got back, landed, and one of my friends called me Shah, and it was the first time that I was like, oh, nope, that guy's dead. That guy died. That whoever that was, that person doesn't exist anymore. I need you to call me Shauhin, actually. And my friends have been slowly making that transition to calling me by my full name, and it's been a way to reconnect with my culture too. And I've been doing that as well in the post game. It's been cool.
The reason why I was curious about the language was I was wondering if that is something that helps you do what you do when you are analyzing people's speech.
Yeah. So much of speech, so much of communication is nonverbal communication, right? And for a lot of my life, I kind of understand most of what's being said, and then I'm picking up the rest with context clues, right? And on top of that, I was always the translator for my parents, right? When I was younger, I was like translating and trying to help them navigate the world. They were amazing. They are amazing communicators, both my parents, right? They came here with nothing and figured out how to remake themselves. And that takes communication. My mom worked in a service industry. She was a hairstylist, and she would steal people's clients all the fucking time. My mom would book them at times. My mom would stand by the receptionist desk, and they would call to book their appointment with their hairstylist. And my mom would book them for times that she knew their hairstylist wouldn't be there, but she had openings. So when they came in, they'd be like, "Where's my hairstylist?" And she'd be like, "Oh yeah, Jennifer does that all the time. But you know what? Why don't you come sit in my chair? I'll take care of you." My mom would just steal clients. If there's any wonder who should have played the game of Survivor, my mom would have been amazing at the game of Survivor for sure.
You got her at Starbucks.
Yeah, I know. And that's why she was so proud of me. And anyway, for sure, I think that helps with communication. And I think, Persians are pretty vibrant communicators. We have a way of talking, I guess, an embellishment to our communication style that you have to kind of read and understand.
Were you able to read a lot of the nonverbal communication in ways that helped you on Survivor?
I think so, for sure. Yeah. Understanding who said they were, they liked me versus who actually liked me. that was always going to be my kind of issue. I think everybody likes me, and that's not the case. And some people can fake it, and some people can fake it well, and some people can't. And I mean, you see this scene between Say and I, where we finally do kind of get eye to eye, where I tell her like, hey, I voted for you. And I read Say's nonverbal communication, I think maybe better than the other people that were out there, because I understood she would really rather you tell her to her face, screw you. Like, she would rather that than you to be like, hey, how are you? How's it going? It's nice to see you. Say doesn't like that. Say that bothers Say. Like, she has a really, really hard time with pleasantries, with politeness. She doesn't like it. She hates it. She's allergic to it. And that
it's inauthentic.
It's inauthentic, but it's also not like that. You can be polite and it's not inauthentic. You don't, just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you need to be mean to them. You can still authentically be polite to people you don't like. I am all the time. I have tons of students that I loathe. I just don't want to be around. They suck. They're annoying. But I'm polite to them. I'm nice to them. I still grade them fairly. And so I think Say has maybe a little bit of a misread on what politeness means, but I understood what was going to rub her the wrong way. And I think that we actually would have worked together. I think that she would have worked with me if she would have survived that tribal. But she didn't. Definitely didn't. So,
all right, I've got questions for you that I want to get into also, but I also want to thank our sponsor.
Yes.
Those are our friends over at Manta Sleep.
So important to get your 8 hours.
Get your 8 hours. Is that how you build great legs?
You're damn right. You got to get your 8 hours to build great legs. And if you want to play Survivor, you need to be able to sleep. You have to understand how to get yourself to sleep. And everybody uses their buff as a mask. And you know what would be better than your buff as a mask? A Manta Sleep out there.
Because a buff, you can't adjust it. Look at this. No. It has cups that go over your eyeballs to get a perfect blackout fit to keep yourself from waking up from the light. Perfect for if you want to get in a nap any time of day. Great for side sleepers too. Head on over to mantasleep.com. Get 10% off with promo code RHAP49.
You sold me at the side sleeping. Okay. I sleep on my side, and every single eye mask has been kind of a nightmare because I always wake up and it's like halfway over my face.
Okay, that's not going to happen with this. Okay.
No, I gotta get myself a Manta Sleep.
All right. So this is an interesting question from Colin, who says every season has its own culture around what's most valued in a winner: strategy, big moves, loyalty, personal growth. Have we been able to discern what is the culture of Survivor 49? Isn't that a great question?
Great question. And actually, Drew Basile was on RHAP talking about the morality of each season is established by the people who go out there. And I think that if we're asking what's the morality of the season, that's going to drive the culture and that's going to drive the win condition. Is the win condition of this big flashy moves? Is the win condition or the morality of this, you have to get rid of your number one? Or is the win condition of this the loyalty and like honesty and who was the most honest?
Yeah.
If you're looking at the jury, which is the one that gets to establish the win condition, I think Nate's unmoved by, I would assume Nate is unmoved by a loyal game. I don't think that MC cares too much about that. I think MC as a new fan, as like a new Survivor player who's watched, maybe 4 or 5 seasons, 6 seasons.
I think more than that, but is newer to the show.
Yeah. You know what? That's such a, I don't have a good read on that.
Yeah, I would say, here's my read on it, who are the people that we hear consistently talked about as the people who are going to win if they get to the end? It's Savannah. Rizzo. It's Yellow Sophie. It's not Rizzo. It's
not
Steven.
Rizzo. Sorry. Yeah, Steven.
It seems to me like challenge performance seems to be the biggest thing that players, that at least the people that are in the game, seem to be very concerned about.
Challenges didn't matter to me at all. I didn't care even a little bit.
Yet this season, the only 3 people we have heard talked about as, that person's going to win has been the challenge performance. And it's
That's a good
been
point.
there's been perseverance from the Savannah, Rizzo, Sophi side, but
Yeah.
I think it's been a little bit more that the other side has just fallen apart
Mm.
under pressure, where
Mhm.
they've stayed like solid and
Yeah.
resolute. I don't know if I'm trying to think of the move that Savannah, Rizzo, Soph has made against the other side, where it's like, wow, they're dominating the game. It's like
Mhm.
they've sort of just like had like all of their like backs to each other's backs, and
Yeah.
the other side has just all like fallen
Wilted.
down
Yeah.
and gone after each
They've been
other.
willing. Yeah, they've been willing to go after each other, thinking
They
they'll
didn't
save
want to
these
take
people
on
for
the
later.
fight.
Yeah, and Savannah really has won immunity at like the best times.
Yeah.
And I think that because
Clutch
Sophie
immunity wins, I think,
totally.
has been the
Yeah.
thing that's like, wow,
So
we
maybe
can't,
so
we
maybe
can't,
that's
we
the
can't
narrative.
stop her.
Yeah, we can't get rid of her when we really want to. And the time they had to get rid of her, they had revenge on their mind instead. And they had a different challenge threat to get rid of. So
So
I think you're probably right.
So Joe's winning immunities, but no, but like, were people trying to get out Joe, and then he was winning the immunities? Like, it's like, oh, who cares? He's won a bunch of immunities.
Yeah, you know what? I just think that you're out there for 48 hours in between each tribal. And of that 48 hours, 15 minutes to 30 minutes is a challenge. That's how long the challenges last, right? Maybe 55 minutes for the arm challenge. And so there's so much more time that you're working the actual game versus this challenge part, that it didn't play as much of a factor in our minds at the end. And maybe that's something that should be really argued for at final tribal. Like that might be something that could have been more persuasive if it was made more a point of at final tribal council. But yeah, I think the culture of this season is probably a little bit more challenge heavy, and maybe more so because it's being won at the right time. But I do think like you see people wanting the big move, but you're right. They've been good moves instead of big moves. And there are big moves that are bad moves. And I think fans get confused because they want to see the fireworks. But sometimes when you set off fireworks, you let people know your location. You know, you're setting off fireworks and people are now looking at the fireworks and now you're the thing. And that's a bad move. Like you taking out your number one ally. Like if Sage would have been the one taking out Jawan, Sage goes home next because she's made the biggest move. So when you make those moves, the timing is really important.
I don't think we've ever really talked about this on the podcast, but I feel like this idea of the clutch immunity win really does seem to carry a lot more weight than like, okay, like if randomly
Christina wins immunity, it doesn't help her.
Christina won an immunity. Alex won 2 immunities and he wasn't going home. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, no one cares.
Savannah, a couple of times, like if she didn't win immunity at the split tribal council, her
home.
group was going to go. She was going to go. So she won immunities when she would have gone home. And I think that's like, oh, we can't beat her.
Yeah,
I think it's
Rachel
like,
Lamont.
Right. Right. So but Yellow Sophie also did that too, where that there was like that she would have gone home. I think at the merge, she would have gone home. At another point where she won immunity. She kept herself safe. So being able to save yourself, I think, has really, dictated who are the big people. Now if they get to the end, forget it. We can't beat that story.
Yeah, I do think that, coming up, because that's using the challenge to further your game, right? That's not just winning an immunity. You're using the challenge win to further your game. And are you putting your foot on the gas when you have the immunity necklace? That makes a huge difference. And I think here, when people had the immunity necklace, they absolutely put their foot on the gas. They started trying to drive the story, drive the narrative, drive the vote. Yeah, I could see that. Good question.
All right. This is from Jonah. If you were on 49, who would you most want to work with?
I definitely would have enjoyed working with Savannah. I really enjoyed Yellow Sophie on television. I think that I would have worked with her as well. I probably would have been okay with Rizzo and
Can you
Blue
give some
Sophi.
whys though of like
Yeah.
why those people? in
Savannah, I
particular?
love because I think that she has a good mind for strategy, and I need someone that I'm willing to bounce ideas off of, like that's willing to go toe to toe with me and tell me no, and like really like, and that's what Joe and I had. Like Joe and I bounced ideas off of each other, and he was willing to tell me no and tell me when I was doing too much, and I was definitely guilty of doing too much. Like that was always going to be my thing, and I would like to work with Rizzo because of the reason that I think Rizzo hasn't gone home yet, which is I don't think people are going to give him credit at the end. And that's an important person to work with because I want to sit next. If I want to sit next to an ally, which was part of my game, is I wanted to sit next to allies. You need to sit next to allies that believe, they have radical self-belief, which Rizzo has. He has amazing belief in himself that also isn't shared by the people that are on the jury. That the people on the jury don't believe him and they don't believe in him and they think he's kind of a clown, or they don't believe that he has the ability, right? That in a way it's like, to talk about millennials versus Gen X again, it's Ken and Hannah, right? That people who believe they can beat Adam, but they can't, and they're willing to be loyal to him. And that's a smart move for him because he could have gotten rid of them at some point, but why would he when he can sit next to them at the end and beat his allies? So I think Savannah is going to be tough to beat. I think she's going to have a lot to say at Final Tribal Council. I think Rizzo has done a lot, but whether he can get the jury to believe them is tough. And I think Sophie's in that same boat. She's done a lot, but whether she can get the jury to believe that is going to be the difficult thing for her. I think that Steven and I have some similarities, not just that we both went home in sixth, but I met him this weekend and I did see some similarities between Steven and I. He has a super fun personality. He's got a big smile on his face all the time, even when the chips are down. Like he has a good amount of resilience. And I probably would have thought there's only enough room on the island for one of us, and might have gone swinging for Steven. So probably not working with Steven. Although I probably would have gotten along with him, and that tends to cloud my judgment, who I get along with out there. Can we talk early game people that I would have worked with? I would have loved to work with Nate. Nate would have been my number one. I would have dreamed to work with Nate.
Why?
He has a good head on his shoulders. He's super bright. He has a good read on the young people. Like he understood how to try and like, okay, this is clearly, I'm on the young person's tribe and I have to like mind my P's and Q's in a lot of the same way that Joe did. Like Joe recognized he couldn't boss people around. He had to let us make mistakes and then he could come in later. He didn't dad us. You know what I mean? He just kind of waited for his moment. And I think that's a pretty good stance to take out there, that you have to, you're not being a chameleon because he's still himself. He still has his own opinions, but he understands that he needs to let people be themselves too. And sometimes that means being a frame guy instead of the star of the show. And that's a difficult thing to do.
What's a frame guy?
The person who's just like, you're standing there, you're holding the frame so that the stars of the show can be like, la da 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 la da da da.
Like the Nickelback video?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. The glue to the glitter. You know what I mean? Glitter needs glue and no one's looking at the glue. They're looking at the glitter. And that's an important skill set to have out there on Survivor with all these vibrant personalities. And I think he navigated that pretty well until, that split tribal, man. That's a tough spot. And yeah, you go home. Brutal.
Okay.
For the blind side.
Alex Brown wants to know, what's better, chicken tacos or chicken and waffles?
Can I annoy everybody?
Yeah.
Sure. Fried chicken and waffles. Fried chicken and waffles. They're savory. They're sweet. They're what you want to eat. The internet hates this, and I don't give a shit.
You don't. You love it.
I love it.
Yes.
You know why? Because a little bit of cringe is important, okay?
Yeah.
If you can't cringe every once in a while, you're not taking enough risks, okay? Cringe a little bit. Fried chicken and waffles.
You like the heat.
I don't mind it. It's important. Yeah. Like if you're not ready for the heat and you go on Survivor, you better get ready because it's coming for you, man. These fans don't have any qualms about saying what they do and do not like on the internet behind, a profile picture of a potato and user 7932648 profile. So
yeah.
I don't
Why do
mind.
you feel like people responded negatively to that?
Because it's cringy. Because I don't know, it annoys them because it's people having fun in a game for $1 million and they feel like that you should be miserable out there. And I don't know, and maybe it is cringy. And I think Mary had one of the funniest reactions of just like, Jesus, is this what we're doing now?
See,
But I don't know. I was having a
what
good time.
I think that the reason why people didn't like it was because it was like, it seemed like that Jeff wanted you guys to do it, and
Yeah.
you seemed very willing to do. Okay, hey everybody,
Let's do a song.
do the thing, and you seemed where I think that people, as compared to this season, Yellow Sophie,
Yeah.
when Jeff's like, all right, here's the reward, it's fruit. He's like, what do you mean that's the reward? That sucks. I
Yeah.
don't want that. Like, I think that people like it when it's that they don't give the company line to Jeff.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of other ways, you don't give the company line to the production or Jeff either.
Yeah, it's like I talked smack on the challenges. Like
Yeah.
I was mad that we had so many arm challenges. It's not a company line thing, but I'm also like a guy who does vocal stems all the time. Like I can't help but create lyrics and like do vocal stems. Like that's why I did the Owaka thing. It's because it was on my brain all the time.
What is a vocal stem?
A vocal stem is like just all of a sudden out of nowhere. You know, my dad used to do it. I think I got it from my dad, but he would just be like walking around. We'd be going on a walk and he'd just be like, blame it on the rain. The famous Milli Vanilli song. And I do the same thing. It's like, you know, I'll be walking
allegedly
around.
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, allegedly Milli Vanilli. Yeah, exactly. And I would do the Owaka Siano Maka at the end of my workouts and stuff. And that's like a vocal stem that I would do. And same thing with once he started that thing, it was like, all right, cool. I can catch a vibe. Like I don't, you know, vibes are contagious for me. I'll catch on and try and play along. And I don't know, in improv, it's always, you know, yes. And Jeff was trying to do some improv and I'm down to play along.
Jeff's doing a lot of improv. Do you improv?
Sure. Yeah. Why not? I used to do a bunch of improv when I was younger and, doing coaching, like coaching people's speeches is improv, right? You're spitballing ideas and it's really harmful if someone spitballs an idea and you're just like, nah, that's not going to work. It's way better if you go, okay, let's do it like this. Okay. How about like this? Yes, this and this. And, and that wasn't Walt Disney. It was, Dr. Seuss, used to make war propaganda. And one of the things that he did when he was writing both his children's books and also when he was making war propaganda was he would have something called a yes session where he would get into a room with his creatives and the only thing they could do was say yes. No idea was too stupid. No idea was going to get a no. And it allowed for a creative flow to occur. And they created obviously some really successful war propaganda, some amazing books from that creative yes flow. And for me, when Jeff does something like that, it's just a yes and moment where maybe it'll be great, maybe it'll be bad. It was great. It made people talk about it. It made some people mad.
It made people feel something.
But I'll tell you, you know what? This is one of those things that happens to reality TV people when they come back. They think the internet is everybody, and it's not. The amount of people that have come up to me and loved that part is a gargantuan, it's a massive number of people that bring that part up and how much they loved it and how they still sing it when they're going to breakfast. And it's like, yeah, a lot of people hated it. The haters are always going to be louder than the people who loved it. No one's getting online and getting any traction with, I love the fried chicken and waffles part. That's not getting any likes. It's not getting any retweets, but someone dragging us for it is of course going to get a lot of likes, a lot of retweets. So it's one of those things that in your brain sticks out because hate evolutionarily is always going to stick out in your brain more than love because it's a threat to your existence. And our evolutionary brains don't understand how to get rid of that idea. And so that stands out and you are confronted with that ignoring all of the love. You can scroll by 1,000 comments that say they love you, and you'll obsess about the comment that says that they hate you. And I think this is one of those examples where certain corners of the loud parts of the internet hated it, but a lot of people really enjoyed it and had a good time with it.
Okay. Tell me about, I know you went this weekend to the big reality event, Over the Edge.
Yeah. So fun. Such an
incredibly... Why do they call it Over the Edge?
I think over the edge has to do with the fact that at some point you can do this like rappelling down a building, down like a 5-story building, and so that's like the over the edge part of it.
Yeah.
Really, it's a charity event, right? That these reality stars go. They all kind of list their charities that they want to raise money for. They raise a bunch of money for the charity, and then the people who go and attend are paying money to the charity to the charities of the reality stars choice for these experiences. But I think over the edge is maybe bad branding for them because it doesn't really talk about what it is. It's almost like a reality conference. Like it's a reality television conference. I got to meet people from Big Brother, from The Challenge, from The Snake, from Traders, from all these different reality shows, and others like Squid Game and all these different people.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. And it was so fun to get to meet them, talk to them about the mechanic of their games. And then on top of that, you have hundreds of fans that are there. And because there's so many reality people and so many fans, it's not overwhelming for you as a reality person. You're not getting like constantly accosted. The fans were excellent with how much of your time they would and wouldn't take. They understood that there were more people. And, we threw dance parties and like it was DJ Jerry Manthe was in the building, which was super cool. Like it was an awesome party. Yeah. There was a blue party where everyone wore blue and I wore a robe.
Kim from Big Brother was there?
Sorry, who?
Oh,
I can hear you.
Yeah, Blue Kim from Big Brother.
Blue, I don't think that she was there, or if she was, I didn't meet her. I did get to meet like Keanu bought me Waffle House.
Oh,
which was
because
cool.
of fried chicken and waffles?
I don't know if he watched.
I don't know is in the lore that deep.
Yeah, I don't think that he would be, but
yeah,
he did like pay for my Waffle House with 5 other people that I had met that day, and then we ended up going to a Waffle House, and that was fantastic.
Well, he did get America's favorite player.
Makes sense. And I also met another one of America's favorite players, Tiffany Mitchell.
Oh yes, I know her.
She blew me away. Like she was so fun to be around, so hysterically funny. I met so many cool people. I definitely learned that I will never do Big Brother. There is no shot you will catch me on.
Why? What was it about? The Big Brother people were too crazy?
Didn't realize 90 something days in a house and what type of, I've never really watched Big Brother. I watched the first episode of this season and that's a version of mental torture that I don't think that I would do well with. Whereas the Survivor type of torture, I think I'm kind of made for. The discomfort that comes with sleeping on the beach and not eating for 12 days and all of that, I feel like I can handle maybe a little bit better than being trapped inside of a house. I don't know. I don't think that does well for my brain. And how long they were in there, I don't think that does well. And the way that they have to deal with fans is just different.
It is different. It is different because I feel like that a lot of times the people that watch the live feeds, they feel a connection to
parasocial.
Like, they feel like it's a parasocial. Like I truly know. I've watched you. I truly know you. I've seen you sleep. Like it's a little bit different than I watched Shauhin on TV.
Right. You watched 12 hours of me. You watched hundreds of hours.
12 hours of you in one day. Yeah.
Crazy.
You said that you like the suffering. Steven said that also. Did you ever have the rats and mice crawl on you?
I had crabs crawl up my legs. I stole the hammock spot.
Oh.
So I was raised up off the ground.
And that was just your spot? It's like, I called it.
I mean, I technically won those hammocks. And so I don't know if that was part of it.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think other people were also more cold than I was. And being in the hammock meant you were going to be cold because you were away from the fire. And so I didn't mind being cold at night. I would fall asleep. I sleep pretty hot. So I think that I kind of snagged that spot and no one ever asked me for it. I offered it, but no one ever really wanted it. So it's lucky.
Let me see.
What else
Brandon Donald said he pulled a clip of you did an Instagram that went mega viral.
Oh geez.
Let me should we look at what did you go viral for? Trick or treat, it says.
Yeah.
Is this worth looking at?
I mean, if you enjoy trick or treating, sure.
Okay. All right. And Brandon went mega viral.
Yeah,
look at you. Let me see what you're talking about here. Okay.
Couple million. Sometimes you gotta choose trick.
What do you say?
Trick or treat.
All right.
What's happening here? The kids came to the door and then somebody threw a bunch of candy at the kids?
That is me. Yeah, that's me throwing candy at the kids.
This is you?
That's me, yes.
Where's your beard?
It's there. You'll see
This
it.
is old?
This is old for sure. This is like,
Oh, yeah. Here it is. Yeah. Okay.
you can hear him say, "Holy shit."
So you just take the candy and you just throw it in the hallway.
Just throwing it back.
And you just throw the candy on the kids.
Yeah. It's a piñata.
So yeah. Okay. And the kids like it?
They've lost it. It's funny. You can tell if you really look closely, but some of those kids are back for their second time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see the same costumes 2 times in a row.
You're going through a lot of candy, I feel like. Were you
Well, what
giving out
happened
anything
was-
good? Or are you getting like the real crapola, milk duds, and all the junk?
It was, like the Reese's, and it was good candy.
You're throwing Reese's away like that?
For sure. But here's the deal. I had a really devastating week before Halloween one year. Got like one of the scariest things ever happened to me. My eyes went cross-eyed. I couldn't see straight. And my brother, who's a physician, tells me, who's always, every time I've ever talked to my brother, ever talked to my brother about my medical condition, I'm like, hey, something's wrong. And he'd be like, oh, cool. Why don't you put a tampon on it? Like, why don't you, you have SDS, you have sudden death syndrome. You're going to die tomorrow. Like he would he can't mess with his patients like that. So he messes with the little brother like that.
Okay.
This time I call him and I'm like, hey man, this is going on with my eyes. And he's like, long silence. You need to get to an emergency room immediately. And got an MRI, and the doctors thought I had multiple sclerosis, which was, that's life-changing. That's definitely a big life change. And when I came home from that weekend, the next weekend was Halloween, and I wasn't going to go party. I didn't have the partying in me. So I went out and bought a bunch of bags of like the king size candy, because I was going to make kids' day. And 7:30 rolls around and we got like one trick-or-treater, and I have all this candy sitting there. And so my partner at the time was like, hey,
dump it on him.
Yeah, let's go pinata style. Like, we got all this candy. We don't want to
throw it on the kids.
So open the door, bang, threw it, and it went viral. And so the next year I did the same thing. I did it again and dumped a bunch of candy on kids. And then all of a sudden, I figured I might as well post it again this year.
Should this be a reward on Survivor where that you win a reward like all right, you want to know what you're playing for? You're going to the sanctuary where Shauhin is gonna throw candy at you.
Oh my God!
He's throwing Reese's. He's throwing
Snickers. He's throwing Snickers. Yeah, dude, that'd be awesome.
Almond Joy.
He's throwing fried chicken and waffles. Yes, absolutely. Jeff, give me a call. I'll fly out there to Pondy
can you vocal stim a Halloween candy pour? What would that go like?
I think it would go, oh, thank you. Holy shit. Oh, thank you. Holy shit. It's the kids screaming. That would be the vocal stem for sure.
Shauhin, is there anything else on your mind about Survivor 49, the Survivor cinematic universe?
I think that the elephant in the room for this finale is, we know that Savannah and Rizzo are, if you're watching this, Savannah and Rizzo are going to be on 50, right? And I think if you can enjoy,
I hadn't heard that, but if that's
going on,
if that's your guess, yeah.
If you're going to really watch something and you're going to try to enjoy it, try and watch it from that perspective. Set your frame going into the finale with, man, I'm going to watch and see, how is it that these two people who just played on 49 ended up taking two people's spots? Like, what is it that they really did out there that showed they were worthy of taking two people's spots on 50? Because I don't think that, maybe I don't have any tea on this, but I don't think that it was guaranteed that they were going to put two people from 49 on 50. It could have been one person. It could have been no people. They absolutely could have had a season where they put nobody on there.
I was surprised they put 3 people from your season.
no comment. I wish they would have put 4.
That was another big surprise.
Yeah, I think that there's all these people from the recent seasons on there, and they didn't have to put people from there. And so the frame, if you want to watch and enjoy instead of watch and be frustrated, I think should probably be, what have these people done that really made production go, wow, these people got to come back, and they got to come back in 9 days or 10 days, however long they had in between those two things.
I feel like it was a little longer. I don't think it was quite like Russell coming back from Samoa.
Might have been 2 weeks.
You might know better than me. But I feel like it was more than a couple of weeks. I think.
I think it was like 13 days, Rob.
Only 13 days.
I don't think it was.
I don't know. I'm
13 days.
I'm speculating. I'm sure we can do the math on it, but
I want to see the before and after picture of Rizzo and Savannah before they go out on 49 and after they come back from 50 eventually. I think that would be a spoiler right now, but I would want to see how much weight they lose on 50 something days if they play long. It'd be interesting to see what that looks like. But I think that if you watch it from that frame, it might be a more enjoyable experience. I watched a lot of seasons that were spoiled. I don't know if I already said that, but I watched a lot of seasons that were spoiled for me when I was working through Survivor during the Panini. And I actually rather enjoyed watching people that I knew were going to go far or knew were going to do well, to see, really lock in on like, oh, they made a mistake, but I knew that they were going to win. How do they recover from this mistake? Instead of just thinking like, oh, they're going home because they made the mistake, knowing they're going to recover, watching how they recovered or watching how someone else fumbled the bag or whatever. That was kind of an interesting thing to watch. And that was, why I really clued into the Sophi and Sage conversation, because it was going to be Savannah or Sophi. Knowing that it probably wasn't going to be Savannah made me really pay attention to the yellow Sophi moment with Sage. Really clued me in there. So I think there's some interesting tidbits that people can glean from the finale here as they watch, knowing, two of these people are coming back.
Shauhin, where could people see more of what you're doing with coaching?
ShauhinDavari.com. There is going to be kind of a huge relaunch in January. I'm working with a lovely little team to do a relaunch and a doing of everything. But if you're interested in one-on-one coaching or group coaching, head over to ShauhinDavari.com and love to help you out for sure.
It's a subject that I am always particularly interested, especially like the intersection of communication styles and then also the overlay of that on top of people playing these reality TV games. It's something
I used to show Survivor clips in my classes because I show Eric's clip in my class all the time of his monologue to talk about what great speech looks like. I show Reese his monologue about Missy,
Reed. Yeah.
Sorry, Reed. I don't know why I said Reese. Reed.
Because you're thinking about the candy that you dumped on the kids.
Exactly right. Reed's monologue I show all the time to talk about why theme can be such a powerful motivator inside of
classical literary storytelling.
Classical literature, man.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason I love this stuff, the reason I love helping people is because it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're an engineer. It doesn't matter what you do. If you upgrade your communication, your life just gets better. If you have the ability to represent yourself, if you know what stories you should be telling and you can control the frame of those stories, people are going to pay more attention to you. And you'll have that skill set for the rest of your life. It's the thing that will stick with you. It's one of those trainings that will always be on your brain. It's a reorganization of how you communicate. And then once you have that organizational principle internalized, it helps you in every scenario, the boardroom, the bedroom, the courtroom. It's going to help you no matter where you are.
Are there any professional speakers that you particularly admire?
I think that we recently, in the zeitgeist of theater or of public speaking has moved away from professionalism in speaking. So like someone like, Gary V, who you can have your own opinion about, but he is very authentic. He swears a bunch. And I don't think anybody would say he's not an excellent speaker. But if you were to do this 10 years ago, people would be like, oh, he's inappropriate. So he's not an excellent public speaker. That's we've gone away from that zeitgeist in public speaking. It's not about being professional anymore. It's about being authentic. It's about being yourself louder. That's why I named the company You Louder. It's why I named the workshop You Louder.
Yeah.
Because really what's at the heart of better communication is understanding yourself, understanding how you communicate with yourself, and then turning the dial up depending on how many people you're communicating with. If you're communicating one-on-one, you don't have to be at a 10. If you're communicating with 500 people, everything has to be bigger and louder so that everybody can really feel that same vibe from you.
It's such an interesting pendulum swing where when I was a younger person that, you would say that somebody was a professional speaker who was very polished. Very buttoned up.
Exactly.
Very much like not having like strong emotion. You said that the person is, and then it's almost like in our time now, it's like the opposite. Somebody who's like buttoned up, seems too professional. We don't like that. That's fake. We want the real. Who's being real? Like who's cursing? Who's doing like just giving us simple ideas that are straightforward.
We crave authenticity now more than ever, and we can talk, forever about why that's now the case and why it wasn't the case before. But I think the democratization of celebrity has a huge part of that. That because anybody can pick up their phone and start talking to it, when people are real and we can see that, we are attracted to that in a way that we aren't attracted to something that is buttoned up and on television, when the traditional media is just not as appealing as someone talking to us on their couch. That has changed the zeitgeist of the window of what is great communication, what is excellent communication. And I love that that's the case, because it allows everybody to be a super communicator, but you have to lean into the thing that you are. You can't lean away from that. You can't, if you are an awkward and uncomfortable speaker, if you're just awkward and socially awkward and you don't have that, you can't pretend to be Obama. That's not going to work for you, right? If you're not a poet, you shouldn't be speaking like a poet. You have to lean into the thing that you are to turn that up, be authentic, trust that an audience wants that more than they want you to be something that you're not. We just have such an awesome allergy to that right now. And I think that's, again, like coming back to the game, I think that's why, Savannah's worked so much on her communication. She really is an expert at it. And sometimes that can come across as something that creates jealousy in the mind of the watcher, of the viewer. I've had that happen to me before too. It's like, oh, he's so on it with his wording. It's kind of off-putting. But yeah, so be it. You got to lean into the thing that you are.
All right. Well, Shauhin, thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. I thought you were super interesting to talk to, and I appreciate all of your perspective that you brought to all this.
Thanks, Rob.
Let me also mention to people something that I had been working on here for the last when Shauhin was playing Survivor. I was writing about it in a little book called The Tribe, and I Have Spoken.
Yeah.
And this was certainly season 48 was on my mind when we were putting this all together for you to check out. All of my knowledge of Survivor history is here in this book, talking about all of the lore and legacy of Survivor, not to mention a chapter all about the best strategy on how to win, but no refunds, okay, if it doesn't work out, and all of the heroes and villains in the show's history, plus the journey of me. That's all for you here in The Tribe, and I Have Spoken, available for pre-order at robhasabook.com.
Robhasabook.com.
Yes.
I'm excited to read it.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Okay. It's a lot of fun. Lots of great art. Also, it's a real collector's item for any Survivor fan.
Are you doing any signed copies?
We're going to be doing, getting some book plates.
Book plates?
Yes.
What's a book plate?
So I think I will be doing signatures that will that will come with your book.
Cool. How long you been working on this thing?
I started working on the book, I think, in the beginning of or like mid 2024. So I think it was the summer in between Survivor 46 and 47. Does that sound right?
Yeah. How cool. What a cool So is any of it 50 focused, or is it more just history of Survivor?
I think it's,
Up to
well,
now?
it's 25 years of Survivor. Obviously, like we
Okay.
couldn't write about Survivor 50,
Right.
but you know that the closing time was, or we like submitted the draft of the book in June of this year. So it's been
Okay.
a pretty quick turnaround. So really, the
Yeah.
only 49 is the only season that doesn't get mentioned.
Available for Christmas? Going to be out by Christmas
They'll
or
be
no?
out in May, May
Okay.
5th.
Out in
So
May. Okay.
available for pre-order, and we'll send you a postcard if you want to give it to a loved one.
Yeah, good Christmas gift. And one that like
That'll
people
be a
will get to
letter
look
that'll
forward
make
to.
your family member cry.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey,
All right.
actually, by the
Yes.
way, we should be writing each other more letters. Like,
Okay.
you see the impact that letters have on people out there?
This
There's a
episode is sponsored
reason.
by the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah.
Write each other more letters this time of year.
Totally. People will appreciate that more than a gift sent to them from Amazon. Write them a letter. Let them know
Write
how
them
you
a letter.
feel.
Yeah,
Write them a letter.
so-
Your handwriting. Isn't it funny how much handwriting made a huge difference? Rob, I could talk to you all day, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on the program.
Handwriting. Now, I just want to. Handwriting made a huge difference where?
On the program.
In Civilization or on
Yes.
Survivor?
On Survivor too, but yes,
In general?
Civilization. I think on Survivor, when you see your family member's handwriting, you know their handwriting is going to be.
I think you're
it's
saying like,
something-
oh, I know that person's vote. I feel like that
Yeah.
people used to like try to fake. Oh, I'm not writing this vote by handwriting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy how
Yeah.
much handwriting has had an impact on Survivor.
All right.
Crazy.
I did not talk about that in the book, but
No.
that, maybe it's a podcast for another day. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, brother.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.